And here we want to find an equation of the hyperbola with the given vertices at the points 2, 3 pi over 2, and the point 10, comma 3 pi over 2. And so let's go ahead and convert these polar points to the corresponding rectangular points. And we'll use the formulas x equal to r times cosine of theta and y equal to r times sine of theta. And so for the point 2, this is r equal to 2, theta equal to 3 pi over 2. And so here we have, in the place of r, we have 2. In the place of theta, we have 3 pi over 2. And simplify all of that, then that will give us an x of 0. And to get the corresponding y coordinate, in the place of r, we have 2. In the place of theta, we have 3 pi over 2. And that will give us a y of negative 2. And therefore, for the polar point 2, comma 3 pi over 2, the corresponding rectangular point will be 0, negative 2. And similarly, for the point 10, 3 pi over 2, the corresponding rectangular point is 0, negative 10. And so let's plot these 2 points. So here we have 0, negative 2, 0, negative 10. And therefore, the center of the hyperbola has to be at the point 0, negative 6. So this is the center of the hyperbola. And this is vertex number 1. This is vertex number 2. And so the first branch of the hyperbola will open like this, and then the other branch will open like this. Since the two branches are like this, the directrix has to be somewhere in here. Recorded for the hyperbola, the directrix has to be in between the two vertices. And so for the conic section of the hyperbola, the A represents the distance from the center to the vertex. And so center to vertex, the distance is 4. And then C represents the distance from the center to the focus. And so the focus is at the pole. And so the focus will be at 0, 0. So the distance from the center to the focus will be 6. And recall that eccentricity, or E, is defined as C over A. And so we have 6 over 4, which is simplified to 3 over 2. And once again, the vertex number 1 is here, vertex number 2 is here, and both of them are below the pole, and therefore the directrix has to be somewhere in here, in between the two vertices, and therefore the directrix has to be below the pole. And in this case, the directrix has to be horizontal, since the two branches open this way and then this way. So we have a hyperbola with the horizontal directrix that is below the pole, and therefore the equation that we will be using will be r equal to ED dividing by 1 minus E sine of theta. And we have E, which is 3 over 2, and so we need to find D. D is the distance from the directrix to the focus. And so we know that the point 2, comma 3 pi over 2 is a vertex, and therefore it is on the hyperbola, and so we can use it to help us find D. So we have this equation here. In the place of E, we have 3 halves, and then D is what we're looking for. And then for this point, R is 2, and theta is 3 halves. So in the place of R, we have 2. In the place of theta, we have 3 halves. Sine of 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. And then 1 minus 3 halves times negative 1 would be 5 halves. And then 3 halves divided by 5 halves is 3 fifths. So we end up with 2 equal to 3 fifths times d. And then solve this equation, multiply this by 5, multiply this by 5, then we end up with d is equal to 10 thirds. And so the distance from the focus to the directrix is 10 thirds. And so the equation that we're looking for will be ED divided by 1 minus E sine of theta. So E will be 3 halves, D will be 10 thirds, and then 3 halves times 10 thirds is 5. Multiply everything on the top by 2, multiply everything on the bottom by 2, then we get 10 divided by 2 minus 3 sine of theta. And so the equation of the directrix is either going to be y equal to 10 thirds or y equal to negative 10 thirds. And so what we can do is to determine which one we can look at the graph. Now we know that vertex number 1 is here, vertex number 2 is here, and we know that the directrix has to be between the two vertices, and therefore it has to be, the directrix has to be below the pole, and therefore the equation of the directrix would be y equal to negative 10 thirds, and not y equal to 10 thirds.